I don't know if Devin is on the show today
No.
because when we visited the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we'd see something and then I'd say, well, Jimi Hendrix, one of the first things he did, he was an opening act for the Monkees. And after about 3 shows, the audience didn't like Hendrix and they were all cheering for Davey and Mick. And finally, Hendrix dropped his guitar and said, screw this, and left. But he was an opening act for the Monkees.
Oh, so it's like similar to the story of, and I just blanked on the name with with Kiss. They were opening act for a few shows, and
yeah, we saw Kiss when they first came out.
Oh,
Drove to Toronto to see them in the late 70s.
But apparently they just like took over from like whoever they were opening for. Everybody's like, no, bring them back. We don't want to.
Yeah, nobody wanted them to open because they.
No.
Yeah.
You still look at their shows. You still look at old footage of it, and they still put on a good show. But those old ones, maybe there's people as good, but nobody better. Like they were.
Roy, who
wild.
was it that did the roller coaster? Was that like Van Halen or something? I can't remember who had like the roller coaster going in their like stadium shows. There was one famous one I can't remember now.
Yeah.
It was insane over in England. I'm like, what is going on? Like they have literally built a roller coaster as part of the show. The guys, I got to look it up now because I can't remember.
Yeah.
The guys like upside down playing the guitar, just going insane.
Do you know who's another modern one is of all people is Pink? She puts on a wild show. She's doing acrobats.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of groups live. I've never seen Pink live, but I remember the clips from the Grammys where she did the something in the air. I can't remember the song, but
shows, and then
amazing.
She was out on cables. And she swings out to the like this is in a stadium, so she swings like along the second tier. She swings out to all the balconies to like say hi to people. It's just wild. Yeah, just incredible. Some of these performances. She actually fell a little while ago. Or someone fell on her. She got really hurt.
Somebody fell during the show.
Yeah. So I was. I was thinking
talk
Marilyn
about
Manson.
falling.
What's that?
Iggy Pop was the first one to ever do crowd surfing.
Oh, really?
And he kind of invented it, and other people tried it. And if you ever search for crowd surfing fails, Katy Perry was notorious. She tried to do crowd surfing, and she fell into the crowd. People were grabbing her all over, and
now she's an astronaut.
Now she's an astronaut. But there's some epic fails. And then what was the School of Rock with Jack Black?
Oh yeah.
I remember that movie. He dives into the crowd and everybody moves. Crowd surf.
Oh man. I was listening.
Thanks everybody for this episode of Much Music.
Much Music, yeah. Oh, I remember Much Music, yeah.
MTV.
I was listening to
MTV.
Marilyn Manson yesterday, and
if
you don't listen to him for a while, and I know he's a bit controversial, but objectively, his music is banger. Every song.
Which album?
I don't like the drugs, but the drugs like me.
Yeah.
Marilyn Manson.
Oh, but the music is so
What
good.
album were you listening to?
I was just listening to like greatest hits,
Oh yeah, because his album that came out, it's 2020 now. That one was another banger. I'm like, man, he just puts out his studio live. It's not the best, but his studio stuff is just dynamite. Everything from the mixing and the instrument, like he just nails it. He nails it.
Okay, well, thank you. Welcome to the Crownsmen Show, when we talk heavy industry, mining, energy,
and heavy metal.
And heavy metal, baby.
Rock on.
I got to say one thing that I found fascinating, I learned a few years ago, is that a lot of these, like the heavy metal guys, though, they're actually like classically, well, they have to be able to, their voices to be able to survive. They're like these classically trained musicians that just go, well, I'm not going to sing that for my whole career. Like Disturbed. Yeah. That guy can like sing like a technically like a master singer.
And they keep going to lessons. So like the lead singer for Slipknot, he's always doing lessons and he's had like all kinds of trouble just because of like the screaming the crazy screaming that they learn how to do. So they have to like watch like voice surgeries and all that. But they're always taking lessons. They're always refining the craft.
The band when they brought Garth Hudson in, and he was classically trained, and he was being paid to tutor the rest of the band on how to play and read music.
Yeah, that's
so
smart.
It's a really interesting story. It's the only way he would come into the band.
What band was this though?
The band.
Oh, they're called The Band?
Yeah.
Oh.
You know, The Weight, up on Cripple Creek. Anyway, they were the band. They played with Dylan for years.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, Robbie Robertson.
But this guy was classically trained, so he came in and actually taught everybody else.
They wanted him in the band. He could play every instrument there was, but he said he'd come in if he got paid extra money to tutor. So the band, they'd all get the same money. Then he got extra to tutor the rest of the band.
Yeah. It's really interesting because even like these pop singers, some people will say like, oh, they can't sing. Have you ever heard someone who can't sing try to sing a pop song?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
It is crazy.
Karaoke night.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Let's talk about our heavy industry tour brought to you by Orica Digital Solutions. Blast IQ Underground provides quality control and improved underground drill and blast productivity for superior blast outcomes. Effectively manage the underground blasting process from planning to post-blast analysis with user-friendly reporting, analytics, and information management. We are heading to events across North America and Australia and filming episodes on location. Email us at info@crownsmen.com to be part of Crownsmen's heavy industry tour.
Attention builders, we've got everything you need to know about the grit and grind of the construction world in one show. The Construction Show is where you can share your expert techniques and strategies to help keep the crew strong and construction sites secure. From foundational tips, industry trends, safety strategies to advanced equipment and machinery. Be part of the voice of construction. Book your episode and showcase your company to millions worldwide. Visit crownsmen.com.
Okay, well, you know what, Rory? I feel like you haven't gone first for a while. What are you talking about today? What beer are we drinking? I'm looking forward to this. I like the can.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Beau's Lug Tread, and the reason I picked this beer is it's part of what I'm going to talk about today.
Nice.
In terms of both marketing, a merger of equals, acquisitions, branding. The kind of range of things.
Wow, you're going hard today.
This is a lagered ale, so
I like ales and I like lagers, so this should be interesting.
This is what I would call a fridge stalker. It's a pretty standard beer.
Cheers,
nothing scary about it.
Cheers. Oh, Rory's really taking his time on the pour. Brought to you by Petro-Canada Lubricants. Rory, this beautiful.
I've got to tell you, I went down to the beer fridge, and I didn't have one.
Uh-oh.
I had to run over to the beer store. It's just around the corner.
Mm.
So
I might have to do that with one of the Kolsch's that we have, because I may have accidentally drank one of the weekend with Mac again. Mac, my brother-in-law, we like a cold brew.
You're not that far from a beer store. Why do you keep drinking? You just got to put it in a different section.
I thought we had already reviewed it.
Uh-huh.
I really thought, I'm like, yeah, we did. And then sure enough, you post a picture with one. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
Anyway, all good.
This is only the third or fourth or fifth time where he's...
It's only the second time. time. So anyway.
So this is actually my topic today, not just the beer review, because... If you're familiar with the issues that Bud Light had,
oops,
Bud Light, the beer company. This isn't an individual, Rory. It's a beer company, and the VP of marketing had sent out personalized cans of Bud Light to a number of social influencers, and one of the social influencers was Dylan Mulvaney. And I don't know her until I read this about Bud Light, but she got on TikTok or whatever social media platform she uses and talked about Bud Light. Now she's a trans woman, and there was a huge amount of pushback from a number of celebrities. This is the one where Kid Rock took out his machine gun and blasted cases of Bud Light said, I'm never going to drink it again.
He's good with guns, by the way. He's quite. You can see he's quite skilled with it.
What did you say, Jerrod?
Oh, I just said he's good with a gun. Like you watch, he knows what he's doing. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
So from a marketing perspective, the VP of marketing for Bud Light was trying to expand their market. So a larger demographic, a young, liberal, so on and so forth. I don't think this wasn't a woke move. What I mean by that, there's a lot of talk about woke. What I consider to be woke is somebody claiming to be inclusive, not because they are, but to sell products, right? So being fake about it. Like if you are sincere and genuine about diversity and inclusion, that's not being woke. But if you're doing it just to try to increase your market or whatever, anyway.
Social clout is the other.
No.
Yeah.
But in terms of marketing, and this is a lesson learned, what she didn't think about or didn't calculate was her largest single loyal market, pushed back on this. So she's trying to expand market to go into other demographics. But your main market, you've alienated them. They stepped away from the beer. Billions lost in market cap. They lost their number one rating in the States. Modelo took that over.
Which is
so all these things happened mainly because
that's what I wanted to look
and she
at.
thought she was doing the right thing, right? She was trying to reach out a larger market, but didn't take into account her loyal customers. A lesson learned for all of us. If you're gonna
in 2025 now, the first quarter, it has dropped. Bud Light and it's dropped down to 16th. Guinness is number one for rise in popularity.
They're 16th. Were they at?
Yeah, they've dropped down to 16th. Now I don't know about sales. This is just popular beer, like people's basically.
In terms of sales, I think Modelo is a number one in the States.
They are now.
Modelo is Mexican, but I think they're one of the groups that's owned by Heineken.
Yes, correct.
Did you know cementitious binders can be responsible for up to 70% of the total GHG footprint of mine backfilling processes? Now you can replace up to 50% of the binder in your mine backfill operations with Graybond, Graymond's new low-carbon cementitious binder. This lime-based alternative binder maintains a 40 to 70% lower GHG footprint compared to typical cement and can adapt to varying mine conditions without compromising performance. Learn more about Graybond at graybond.com. Join us in the depths of the mining world, where global leaders and industry giants converge to shape the future of mining. From groundbreaking technologies, advanced machinery, revolutionary safety measures, to sustainable initiatives. This is the voice of mining. This is Mining Now. Showcase your company to millions worldwide. Book your episode now. Visit crownsmen.com.
So anyway, where does this beer come into the picture? So what steam whistle, Pilsner, their advertisement was they do one thing and they do it very well. Okay. So when they wanted to expand their market, what did they do? Did they start brewing other beers? What they did was they did a merger with Beau's.
Oh.
So rather than dilute their main market and their claim to fame, their Pilsner, they merged with another company, and it's actually Beau's that has gone into different IPAs and different things.
Oh.
Smart.
A year later, Steam Whistle bought Beau's, so now they own them. But they haven't changed the brand, so it allows them to go into different demographics and different without impacting their core market, which they built over the years based on Steam Whistle Pilsner.
Oh, Steam Whistle. That's where the Mine Connect events are held and stuff like that in Toronto sometimes.
In Toronto, yeah.
Got it, yeah. I was like, what is Steam? Like Steam Whistle, the Ontario. So got it.
Anyway, I thought this beer would be there's some lesson learned in terms of business. In if you want to increase your market, we've talked about this before. You can look geographically, you can look at demographics, you can look at the services you provide, but you always have to be conscious of your core market and the clients or customers that brought you there too. So,
and but I think you're touching on another thing, Roy, is using your winners to do your R&D that's a really risky move. Like if you use your smaller players or your mergers and your acquisitions to sort of play in in different marketing strategies or different markets, that your risk of loss is or negative pushback is minimized, right? But right when took their winner and did something, because they didn't just send cans to Dylan Mulvaney, they sent it to a whole bunch of people, and they didn't. Rory brings up Buffett. I'm going to bring up Munger. Plan for the worst thing to happen, and see if you can. Well, they didn't plan for the worst thing to happen. They went with, this is just this. It was a giant outreach. It was a very, if you want to use the word diverse, but they didn't. They used their winner and didn't account for the worst possible outcome with their winner. Very risky.
Maybe this is one of those Donald Rumsfeld things. You remember Rumsfeld when he talked about the unknown unknowns?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, it's a famous speech, but when you start to look at risk, there's the known knowns, there's the known unknowns, and then there's the unknown unknowns.
Yep. Yeah.
Anyway, it's you can Google that one, but it's quite the speech.
And what he should have said is he should have said, and by the way, no one's ever going to know what I know, because if you know what I know, then I would be sitting in this position.
It's known that it's unknown.
Yeah.
Who's Rumsfeld again?
Donald Rumsfeld was defense secretary. Yep. And this was a speech about weapons of mass destruction.
Oh, boy.
Whether they'd found them or not, it was...
Totally, they found them. They were there. Yep. They were unknown, but they're unknown that they found them. So, great. The Jerrod, it's interesting. Like in our thing of shows, it'd be like putting everything behind like mining now and using that as like this, like basically doing something like crazy.
Yeah.
Without considering what is the worst possible outcome of this.
Do you know what scares me is when we do something that's right, but we're not even really realizing that so for the Crownsmen Show, we're using that as like we're looking at doing some episodes about in space and those types of things. Mm-hmm. We're using the Crownsmen Show, which is our flagship show, but not our main revenue driver.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of just instinctive.
Because Roy is so slow on the receivables. Or else it would be the biggest.
Yeah,
we probably shouldn't bring that up on the show, Rory.
Okay.
What? Oh, by the way, this is brought to you by the
Cranky Old Men Drinking Beer.
Yeah. If we say it at the same time, do we get paid twice?
Yes.
We didn't put that in the contract, Roy. Sorry about that.
It's double.
I think it's happy hour.
What's the happy? When it's your happy hour, Roy, does that mean we included like the 5% discount?
Oh, I thought happy hour was 2 for 1. Oh. It is everywhere else in the civilized world.
Contract. It's a really long contract.
I live in Vancouver, Roy.
That's
it's
not
like
how it works.
$1 off is a deal here. You don't.
Every hour is happy hour in Vancouver.
Oh,
right?
yeah, for sure.
The Canucks used to have happy hour. Like if you bought a beer before 6:30 at their games, it was like the low price of $12. But then of course, it goes back up to 24 after 6:30. As we know, the Canucks and their marketing, they're stellar. Go Canucks, go!
They suck so much.
Oh.
I can't stand that team.
The Maple Leafs number 1, right? Or number 1 in the
first in their division.
First in their division. Was Washington number 1 overall in the East?
There's still a game. I think there's still one game left to play in the season. They're playing tonight.
Thankfully for the Canucks, it's over.
I don't know.
It's done. We just go into misery.
Yeah, rebuild.
Anyway,
they've been rebuilding for 10 years. The thing with them is that I don't like is not. It's so hard to win a cup. It's just like, can you go Canucks go? Wow. No Canucks, no.
No Canucks, no. I'm all about the Blue Jays now. I pivoted. Eli and I are coping with the Blue Jays. It's like
the Blue Jays are great.
By the
fun
way,
to watch.
We don't want to get into politics too much, so I'm going to drive right into something political. Canadian the Canadian French debate was last night. Obviously, this will come out later, but as far as we're concerned, it was last night. And the greatest photo was of the debate stage, and somebody took a picture because someone had their screen up watching the hockey game.
Oh, did they? Oh, that's perfect.
I actually have the link. I'll send it over to you, Gowdy. So
somebody had it. Were they part of like the?
They were doing something there. It was like
because they were watching the Habs.
Yeah.
Because the Habs game.
Someone then snapped a picture behind them, and they got their laptop there.
That wouldn't be me.
Full screen, by the way.
They just went. Oh, they just did not care. Yeah. They just did not care. Like,
we used to say les troisième étoile, the turd star. Anyway.
Oh boy.
Let's,
gotta win the turd.
In Canada, the Habs.
Alex Burrows would say, "Win the turd."
Oh, I loved Alex Burrows, man. That guy.
Oh, he was.
We're really tangenting today, which is just fine. Did you want to cover more stuff?
I'll give you some statistics.
Oh, okay.
About the Stanley Cup.
Oh, nice.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, that's great.
It's the full screen that I love. And that person is close. They're right there.
Not even a phone or in the corner.
They don't even care. They don't even care.
Their notes, it looks like the notes are the wrong way. Look at
and the Habs are in as well, which I'm happy. Like, we've got the Battle of Ontario. We've got the Habs playing Washington. Go Habs. And we've got Winnipeg and the Oilers are in too. But anyway, stats. Roy, I love a good Stanley Cup stats.
So the last time the Leafs won the Cup in 1967 was the original 6 teams.
Yeah.
Okay. So the chances of winning the Cup were 16.7%.
It's pretty good.
Right? Well, one out of those 6 teams is going to win. If I've got it right, there's 32 teams
correct
in the NHL right now. So the math is you now have a 3% chance of winning the Cup. So, Jerrod, when you talked about what a challenge it is, when you look at the numbers, it's a long road, and it's a tough road to hoe.
They have like a better goalie now. They have Matthews, who is just phenomenal. And
the Leafs are in good shape. It's a question of whether they can peak.
Yeah, exactly.
Same as any playoff.
Injuries, there's that to play in. Like Jerrod and I talk about it now, like all jokes aside with the Canucks, I think their ownership, terrible. Management, whatever. But all jokes aside on that everything basically has to align perfectly. And you've got 3%. Like even the teams, I saw a stat that what was it, like Crosby and Ovechkin, like when Crosby like basically got like over 30, he's won, since he's been over 30, they've only won one playoff round, I think. So his peak was like his late 20s. They won those 3 cups. Yeah. Same as like with like Taves with the Hawks and that. They get over that peak and it's tough. Like I see Washington Capitals, like they got like Ovi got the record. They're one of the top teams in the league, but I'm like, man, there's no way this team is going anywhere.
You can't do that because it's 2 seasons, right? The playoffs are so long and hard on you.
And the level goes so high.
Yeah.
Goaltender becomes so much more important.
Yeah. And the team needs to have people that, like, if you're getting coverage on the top players, like everybody's like hanging off Matthews, just trying to stop him. You have to have.
And they don't call penalties anymore. The penalties go away after the first round. The penalties are basically gone. So Matthews is going to get held up if you don't have like your second and third and even fourth lines that can actually bury a goal. You're kind of like, that's why Florida was so strong, because the Oilers threw everything they had, and by the 7th game, McDavid was gassed, Draisaitl was gassed because they put everything in, and Florida still had the 1, 2, 3, 4 punch.
Yeah,
and I think that's what it comes down to.
How do we get into hockey? It's hockey's one step above talking about the weather.
It was just your.
I know how we did the guy watching hockey during the debate.
Yeah, and then in true Canadian form, our brains just shut off and we went.
It's like God. But anyway, welcome back to the Heavy Industry Series.
Rory, what was on your mind today?
So Roy was talking about picking not gold miners. He was talking about picking miners that were in like the production, not the production process either. Let's try this again. Miners that are in the construction phase going into production. So
Near production.
Near production. Thank you.
That's what we call it.
So I was looking at like the top 5 mines. Now, with a caveat, this is 2023 because I can't find, and Roy, you might know a source that's better. I can't find a source that's like gives me like the data on where are all the top miners. So like this is the one that I found. So there's like Sedibelo in South Africa, Ivanhoe mines, Platreef, PGM nickel mine. There's a gold mine in South Africa. South Africa is a hotbed for massive mines apparently. And then we've got the Artemis gold with where did I write them? I didn't write the mine. I didn't write the mine name down. Blackwater Gold Project. And then Mag Silver's Juanicipio mine in Mexico. This is all from 2023. So I think some of these are already done, but or like already in production. It's just interesting to see like how it looks like in Africa, specifically South Africa in this case, has like massive opportunity for expanding in like the mine production. Is that something that you've seen as well, Roy, with like the largest mines being developed?
But 4 in Canada out of the top 10.
Yeah.
Oh, South Africa has historically been one of the leading mining countries in the world. And you just have to look at the map to see South Africa is not very big.
Mm-mm.
You know, when you compare it to some of the other countries in the world. So that much mining concentrated, it was a huge part of their GDP. And there's been a decline in recent years. Labor rates have gone up. As the mines get deeper, they get more expensive to mine. There's different things going on. Mm-hmm. I didn't take a good look at what you had on the screen, so I can't really tell you about which one is done and which one isn't. But yeah, look at near production, you know, and I'll give you, and it's all public knowledge, but I'm on the board of Torex.
Yeah.
And Torex has just done a build for to increase the life of their existing operations in Mexico. And the market has responded favorably.
Okay.
So their share price has gone up. A big part of that's driven by gold price. Mm-hmm. But also, once you take that project into production, you know, the analysts in the market have renewed confidence in you.
Right.
They already know you're an operator. So the market responds accordingly. But yeah, I look for near production mines that I think are going to, you know, generate cash flow in the next year or two. And, you know, that's tough for a junior. But a junior, if you invest, you can get the big win.
Would you ever look into like some of these mines in like South Africa? Are you confident in some of like those regions for like analyzing it and figuring out if this could be a good play?
For me personally, I mean, I've been to a number of mines in South Africa.
You have. Okay.
Oh yeah. Our group, Murray and Roberts, our owner is Johannesburg based.
Right.
And we've done work in South Africa in the past. I don't know the operators well enough to be quite honest.
You're not as comfortable. So at this point, you wouldn't be as comfortable. You'd have to have.
I look for board members. I look for management that I know.
Interesting.
And know that they've been successful. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if I'm looking at investing in a near production operation, it's usually people I know or a property I know.
Roy, just because like 3 of these are in, I'm curious, like, do you know the Sedibelo? It's saying it's got a 30-year mine life. It actually looks like it's an expansion, and that's the company as well. So it's existing Sedibelo's existing Pilletsburg open pit mine with planned development of a second pit but I think that one's already under construction. They're saying it was going to be ready by 2025 based on this article. Are you familiar with that company and like that project?
No.
No, okay. And then Ivanhoe Mines. Ivanhoe sounds really familiar to me. It's that's another one that I think that's another platinum mine. So I think platinum's a really big play in South Africa.
Yeah, it's wasn't Ivanhoe involved in Oyu Tolgoi, Mongolia? I'm trying to remember the history there, but
the mine you mentioned for Torex in Mexico, I just pulled that up. That was the name of that one is
Media. The new operation is Media Luna.
Media Luna, okay. Because on their assets they talk about the Morelos property.
Yeah.
Is that
yeah?
it?
They've been in production for a number of years, so they were generating cash flow before they took on. It was a $900 million project, which was Media Luna. So they're not a junior; they're a mid-tier, like 450,000 ounces equivalent a year.
Yeah, so if we're talking 3,300 USD an ounce, you're talking just off that, you're 1.4 billion a year just in the gold production. And I assume they would have other stuff, but just in the gold production, they're over 1.4 billion at current rates at that property alone. So that, and then of course, when you generate that cash flow, what you want to see is them going into obviously other opportunities to develop, because then it just keeps cascading basically.
Yeah, well, you look at, when you generate that cash flow, you look at acquisitions.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've already got a property, the most logical thing to do is expand an operation that you're already doing well in.
Mm-hmm.
It's sexier to do an acquisition, but it's far safer to expand and increase your mine life by 10 or 15 years by developing something beside where you're operating.
Yeah, and I guess that's looking at that South African platinum mine. That's what they're doing, is putting in a second
for
pit.
sure.
So they're doing the same. So that makes sense as well. So those are things, because acquisitions have so many. There's so many things that can go awry in those negotiations, that if you can just continue developing your own properties, I mean, that's a huge win-win. Yeah. Oh, one final question, Roy, on that, because I know we touched on it last week. Based on just like that number, like the 1.48 billion, it's interesting because you might build the mine. Let's say the mine is $1 billion, but I guess you're not going to get up to that many ounces initially, usually, or can sometimes that production go really high right out of the gate once everything is tested in the production?
Usually there's a number, like we recognize full production at 60 or 70% of projected final production. So if it's a 7,500 ton per day mine, the market doesn't recognize full production, or the mine can't claim full production until they get to 65 or 70% of what the feasibility was based on.
Oh, okay. That's something
kind of a rule of thumb.
Rule of thumb on that. Okay, interesting. Because that's pretty amazing. Like if you can get that mine built. And even if you start out and it's like 30%, but it's ramping up, obviously they always talk about ramp up, and you get to that 65, 70. It's kind of like in our side when we buy, we upgrade equipment. It can take literally a few episodes and the equipment is covered because we can do so much more with it. And we've seen that a number of times. Yeah. So in mining, it's on a massive scale. Once they get going, that project can be covered really quickly.
Because they're running on a 24-hour cycle, right? Generally, Roy?
Well, it depends on what you mean by covered, but because you depreciate for tax purposes at a certain rate that you're allowed to per year.
Yes.
For that capital.
Which is actually that's actually a big benefit.
Payback period is different from depreciation in my mind. Yes. And payback is really important when you're looking at acquisitions.
Well, and I always look at like the depreciation and amortization, because you can add that back because it gets booked as an expense basically, or not an expense, but like a liability, I think. But you can add that back because that's like tax purposes. You're still using all that equipment. And if it's just out of the gate, that depreciation won't mean much until like several years down the road on certain equipment.
Yeah, and once you write that equipment, certainly as a contractor, once you write that equipment off, then you're printing cash on it. The challenge is always when, if it takes you 3 or 4 years to write a piece of equipment off, these days the equipment's pretty much obsolete after 4 years.
Is that how quickly a lot of the equipment? Is that how fast it's changing?
Yeah, we'll have companies that will say we won't take any equipment on site that's more than 2 years old.
Oh, okay.
So you don't even have time to write it off. So you've got to count on having another project lined up or leasing it or doing something else. But leasing it, it's hard to be competitive.
What kind of equipment are you talking about? Like rolling stock equipment or like your processing equipment?
I'm talking about mobile equipment.
Oh, okay.
Like jumbo scoops, trucks.
Not like the concentrators or ball mills, things like that.
No, not stationary equipment.
Okay, you're just talking about the beating, especially in some of these environments. This equipment just takes a beating. Well, that L&H company that we work with, their whole business is about like these major replacement parts on this equipment.
I'm trying to look up like Rio Tinto as an example. I should have pulled up Torex, but I'm trying to look up Rio Tinto, like what they have for depreciation and amortization, like the last year. I will find it.
I think they're coming on the show pretty soon, aren't they?
They are. That's why they're top of my mind, because we're getting everything set up for production. So next week they will be filming.
Nice.
Which is awesome. And they are excited. I'm excited. It's going to be, Jerrod's excited. Everybody's excited.
Yeah, it's fun. We're kind of getting everybody we wanted now. We've got, we won't roll out a couple that we've got on just to make sure that everything goes through. But we've got a couple major players coming on here very shortly.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And it goes back to Roy's point, like you mining now the platform, you would not want to be doing Bud Light initiatives through the Mining Now platform.
No, if you're going to have a show, we're going to talk about
how save it for this show.
Yeah.
Thank you, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was going to say, if you're going to have a show where the host is talking about how ugly their newborn baby is, you probably want to do that on the other show, not Mining Now.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true.
Speaking of which, I took my daughter to the zoo yesterday for the first time. Talk about being someone of faith. You're just trusting that whoever built those fences.
Don't trust them.
And then the animals, like the panther, it was just pacing back and forth in front of her. And she's sitting there, she's this like 15 months old looking at it. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. And then we went over to the grizzly bears, and it was pacing already when we got there. And then it stopped and went, whew, looked right dead in her eyes. 6 feet away.
That is scary.
6 feet away from her. Yeah, that's it.
Found the picture.
And I was thinking, that's not Esper. That's not my daughter. That's the animal.
Also not a grizzly bear, but
also not a grizzly bear. It was a tiger. But there was a tiger right beside the panthers. And I just realized that I was thinking this is what animals at the zoo, the predators, this is all they dream about every night. It's just these little children floating in front of their eyes that they've been seeing all day.
An arm through the fence.
Oh.
They're just sitting there with their paws just.
Have you seen the videos of like, when you're at the zoo or even the aquarium, and then, the gorilla or something comes up and like boom right against the glass like that. Just that. I mean, like, it scares the crap out of me.
Remember the one, this was quite a few years ago, where that gorilla, the kid fell in and the gorilla was dragging the kid around? Yeah. Oh, my. That was crazy.
Yeah, no,
And the gorilla gets shot.
Yeah.
Like it's his fault.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're not going to get any zoo sponsors on this show, I guess.
The zoo
I was about to say, at the St. Louis Zoo, the only one, my daughter, who is only 6 months old, the only one she cared about, she loved the penguins.
Penguins are always,
She was laughing and screaming at the penguins. She was like, this is the best thing ever. That was the only thing that even registered.
Yeah.
Wait, that's not my daughter either. Just random kids.
I'll show a real picture.
But yeah,
I was just picturing all these apex predators last night while they're sleeping. It's just little Essie bear just floating in front of their
And
face.
Jerrod, how are you going to tie that into your topic about entrepreneurship, though?
Well, I actually can, because she's looking at that completely unaware of what she's looking at.
Yeah.
But she doesn't even know what she doesn't know. The unknowns, and the what we know, the whole Rumsfeld thing.
The unknowns about the unknowns, you mean?
So it actually does tie in a little bit, because I was thinking this is not for every business, because I should clarify, because some companies start, like I think when you started cementation, Roy, I mean, you'd been in the business, that you started with big projects, but a lot of companies start and you just, especially if you're a young entrepreneur, you do not realize, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. So the first year is just, you don't even realize it's chaos. That's how ignorant you are. You're just doing stuff, thinking you know the business, and then you're just walking
into people's businesses, being like, "You should buy from us because we're new and we're pretending we know what we're doing."
Yep. But sometimes you don't even know you're pretending. You actually think you know.
Don't. No, you don't.
Well,
that's the crazy thing.
Oh, I think I found
say what I told our people is that we didn't know what we couldn't do.
That's exactly right.
Right.
That's
so if someone come out with a big project, we can do that.
Yeah.
I remember bidding a project in Africa for a company, and luckily they said, "Well, no, they don't think you can do that."
Easy, Roy. Easy.
Which was good.
And
Wow,
and
that sounds like what Jerrod does to me.
all the time. Well, and it does tie back, because like yesterday, Essie's trying, she's like reaching out to the panther, I'm like, "Do you want to pat it?" She nods her head yes. I'm like, "No, you don't."
Oh, I found the picture.
You found the picture. Oh.
Oh.
See, I mean, she got cuter.
She got cuter.
That's funny. Wow. But then I thought about the next 3 to 5 years, which is that's where you're trying new things. You are developing sort of your baseline. You figure out how to build your team, how to manage your cash. You figure out like things that actually are working. And then I think that 6 to 8 years, again, it changes for everybody, but this is kind of our experience. And Rory, you can jump in, of course. But I wrote a couple notes here. Yeah, you triple down on the value. You start to understand how to manage your time. You start to really understand like even how to manage cash. There's certain patterns in your business. You start to go, the summers are the time that, it gets a little quiet, but falls and,
Hello, July.
Hello, July. So you kind of go through the pattern of not knowing anything. Then you kind of learn, you're learning the business. And then you're learning how to sort of implement in those, I feel like 6 to 8 years, you're learning how to really double and triple down on the winning strategies. But then there's that next, which I think this is where it trips up a lot of people, is then you get comfortable.
Oh, that's
now
bad.
You know the business. Now you know how to collect a paycheck through the business and do well, the little profit margin. And I think then that's when you need to start looking for, last episode I talked about, kind of creating these different islands where you're pulling in different markets slightly, not trying to compete in them, but just trying to add them on. Then you need to start to take risks, which I think ties really back to what you're saying, Roy, though, is don't take your big risks with your winning stuff, but find these areas where you can afford to take risk. And I think that's where, because now you've got a base. You took all this risk when you were new, and now companies, you start to see them get scared when they're 9, 10, 20 years old. It's like, you've got the company now. And now you're pulling back. And then you see someone like an Amazon or a Tesla. And again, we're not that. But they're willing to take these risks. And you see it in smaller companies too. You'll see that company that's just always willing to just, okay, let's tack on something else. Let's try something else. And it's a really dangerous trap. Okay.
But,
Roy, I see you want to.
So think about this. When you're starting out, you're taking risks. The main impact of those risks is on yourself, right? You don't have a big team that's going to get laid off. You don't have suppliers that if you go bankrupt, you're going to owe them money. The risk is personal. right? And as the company grows, a couple things happen. One is you begin to understand the relationships you can build with clients. There's just some groups that you don't work with for whatever reason. So begin to understand those relationships. But the other thing that happens when you grow, it's kind of like a family, right? When you're single, I mean, go off somewhere and travel and work and do whatever. But when you got a family, you've got some responsibility for other people. Same as an entrepreneur. Like when you build your business and you started with 1 or 2 or 3 people and everyone's got skin in the game, but as you build your team, you've got people depending on you, right? You've got people, that's their livelihood. They have left someone to join your company. And so, the risk appetite changes because now you've got, it's not just yourself that's taking the risk. You're taking the risk for a group. And as the group gets larger, the impact of that risk. And we got to a point where the idea was always, if we take a job, okay, what's the worst that could happen? We will risk that job, but we won't take a job that'll risk the company.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you really begin, and I agree with you, Jerrod, your risk appetite changes. And there's a lot of reasons for that.
And it needs to change.
Yeah.
But I think, sorry, just what I really say is it's that there is this concept out there of having order and chaos in your life, and both are important. And if one overtakes the other, then you've got a problem. So the rigid person that won't change anything, they just do what they do, they live and they die, and it's gone, which is fine if that's how you want to live. But then there's that person that you have stability, you're consistent, but you're always pushing yourself with something new, but not in a way that, I decide I want to be a comedian tomorrow, so I go off and leave my family and travel the world on a boat trying to do stand-up.
Jerrod's dream.
It's actually my dream. I'm
dream,
thinking about it.
And there's great comedy clubs in Thailand. So Jerrod, your dream is just right there for the taking.
You just need to be tall.
Yeah, exactly. You can look over the people that aren't laughing.
Ouch.
Yeah, that joke went over their heads, Rory.
Crazy. One thing about the risk taking that I do want to touch on. So when 2020 happened and we just started basically filming, everybody except 2 companies that year did end up supporting the company. And we will always remember the 2 companies that didn't. We always will remember those. But we were filming, and that really, people realized, oh, okay, we can actually get viewership on this platform. But what's interesting is this year, some of these events we go to, we don't have very much for filming. So Jerrod was like, well, okay, picking up on that, we have a new shorter product promo. We can just go film those because we can film them, provide them with a highlight, showing them the quality of that episode, and then they can decide after they film, okay, we're going to buy it and we're going to launch it. The great thing about that is we've already spent the money to travel to the event. We're already filming other episodes. Yes. There's all these avenues where you can look at risk, but also look at it as a chance to maximize what you're already doing. Why we're already going with a producer? Why not film as much as possible? And it's already paying off.
Yeah. And
it's already paying off. So it's really crucial to look at within segments of the business, within different shows, like specific for our business, within different shows, and then reward when somebody's able to do that risk taking and it does achieve some good results.
Right, because film now, pay later. I mean, that's something you do when you're just starting out, right?
Yeah.
We'll prove we're good. But exactly what you're saying. We've already got episodes booked. We've already got the trip covered. So why wouldn't we film now, pay later if you like it? Because that's it. We still have that entrepreneurial. We're actually injected the entrepreneurial spirit back into these. Like, no, we want to work with you. We'll bend over backwards to make you happy, and we're getting those results from that. And it would be so easy to just go, hey, you know what? People know who we are.
Let's take a break. It's easy. We're already here, but we can just slough it off for the rest of the day.
Have a nice lunch.
Yeah, don't do that. Kind of buckle down and like meet as many people as you can at the events, film as much as you can at the events. And that's what I do love about like growing a business. And it's kind of that spirit of like innovation. It's like, okay, there's always going to be something that you can find that will pull you into it. Jerrod, you said about like building out islands, but it also helps with the mode of the business of doing more with these major heavy industry players around the world.
Yeah, just finding different ways to offer value. You have to have. I do think, Rory, and we've already been talking about it, but it's just kind of going back to the thing I said earlier, and I want your thoughts on it. It's sort of that, and I understand like you have a responsibility and it changes, but I do think people lose a little bit of their nerve once they get established. It may be laziness, but it also is that feeling like, okay, I've got people I'm responsible for, their families and that. So it's easy to sort of use that almost as an excuse to not push. And I'm not talking about risking your company. Yeah. I'm talking about keeping at least a portion of your company having that entrepreneurial spirit.
Well, you know what I mentioned before, the concept of we didn't know what we couldn't do when we started. But after 5 years, we did know what we couldn't do.
That's true.
I mean, seriously, you start out and you say, well, I'm going to do all these projects, and then things get really busy, and all of a sudden you have a project that doesn't go well because you're too busy, or you haven't hired enough people, or for whatever reason, and you become more experienced, right? I mean, when I started BLM in '89, I had no idea. I'd never run a company before. I'd worked on lots of jobs, but you gain some expensive education pretty quick.
What was the craziest thing you learned like pretty quickly starting your own company when you had like people working for you? Was there anything that stood out like right away that you're like, whoops,
it wasn't?
Whoa.
Yeah, there were lots of things. Certainly managing cash flow was something I never thought about. But when we started to have some clients that weren't paying, and then we had one client that went under, and all of a sudden I had to talk to our suppliers and tell them that, we can't pay you for 6 months, and half my time was managing cash flow. And that's something I had never thought about before.
Right.
So
I think it's a big shock to a lot of people that go. The one thing I will touch on, it's interesting because like you have entrepreneurs that like they'll open a franchise, and I do think that's an interesting aspect. Like they'll kind of open their own location of like a DQ or whatever. They've got that established brand behind them. So I do think that's another avenue where if you have built up, if you've been really diligent in the savings, you can actually go about it that route. So I think it's different. It's a different risk appetite for each person. So that's something you think about, because those people, they truly are entrepreneurs in the sense that they put in their cash, they bought this franchise, they're going to set up at this location. They have to run it. They have to manage the cash flow. They have to pay the parent organization. So there's different aspects and different layers too with entrepreneurship, which is interesting.
But the franchising, Rory, like in North Bay, there's a coffee place called Twigs.
Okay.
Like a Starbucks.
Yeah.
And then they put a place in at the university there, and then they put a place in Sudbury. Now they got a place in Sturgeon Falls. I mean, they're not a big national.
No.
But they are a franchisor, and they built their brand up over 5 or 6 years, and then said, "What's next for us? We can continue to run this little place,
and that's cool.
Or we can do
really
more."
Cool.
And they've done well.
I was just talking to a guy, and he said with the coffee, he's got a little coffee shop right across from us, and there it is. That is a really nice little place.
It's a great place.
And he said the whole thing with coffee, because once you can because he roasts his own coffee and does all that.
Oh, nice.
It's all volume. Once you basically have the business, then it's just how much product. Like just the cost, the margins are good, and you just have to produce it. You just have to be able to scale it. That's all it is, right? Whereas our business is a little more, to add a new series is a whole thing. But for him, it's just...
And it's customized, with going on site and that, there's more like the customization for each client, still built around like the formats of the episodes, which people do love. It's just you're always kind of like within that long form type content.
Oh, I think we've talked about it before. That is something where we got it right. Again, I don't know if we got it right on purpose or if we just happened to. It doesn't. But if you are selling something, you have to create a foundation for people to buy.
Mm-hmm.
That's very popular, the customization thing right now, and build your own, which is great. But if you look through the build your own, if you go to Build-A-Bear and you're going to make a little teddy bear, you don't go to other stores and buy stuff.
No.
They've got a set thing that you buy. There needs to be structure. And I think that's where a lot of people, they try to they almost take service as a way to not provide stable boxes for their clients to live in. And that's just confusing for customers. There should be a set price or a base price of things. Not maybe if you're in contracting where it's so different because you're talking about a huge project. But if you're delivering stuff, you can't have it all customized. You have to have base for people to build off of. And it's just this trend, right, of everything being sort of bespoke. People don't even know, suits. It amazes me, some of these suit companies, because they're on there selling stuff online. People don't even know how suits structurally work. So you basically just, in a sense, I hate to say it, but you're kind of preying on people's ignorance is how they do it. Anyway, complete tangent, but...
Yeah. There was I won't say a push, maybe it was a trend, whatever, about the elevator pitch, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to say in 2 minutes to convince someone to buy your service? And the reality is, I don't care what you say in 2 minutes, the chances of you selling something are
never happen.
Next to nothing. And you better have, a real story about how you're going to add value and include examples and references and the whole bit. It's not something you do in 2 minutes or 7 minutes. And it's a nice challenge. Yeah, it's a nice challenge. I did one. I had to do the pitch. We had 5 minutes. There was 1,000 people in the audience, and I had to do the pitch. And we had some of the members of Dragon Den. It was a Dragon's Den setup.
Oh, okay.
And but that was entertainment, right?
Yeah,
that wasn't reality.
And those pitches that they do on TV where they chop it down, and they put 10 people into an hour. Those take hours at times. They're going on and on and on. They're asking them financials. They're asking though. Again, it's TV. It's we know in the podcast business.
They have to do their due diligence after.
Yes.
All that sort of
stuff.
stuff.
Really, if you're going into Dragon's Den and asking for $50,000 for a 10% of the company.
Yep.
And you're talking to multimillionaires and billionaires, and 50,000 is nothing to them. Mm-hmm. And they're just deal junkies, right? So they're going to go to you and say, "Well, I'll give you 30,000 for 20% of the company."
Yeah,
it's entertainment. It's not reality, and so people should realize that maybe you get some money on Dragon's Den, but you're going to sell a big chunk of your company to get it.
And there's another thing that I've been thinking about on that too, is that this whole, and I've talked about it, again, as you learn more, you start to get hopefully a little wiser, unique selling proposition. You need a unique selling proposition if your company is unique. But if you're a landscaper, you just need to be really good at your local level at landscaping and get referrals. Probably have some good marketing strategies too. So when people then get you, they'll refer and right
within that community that you're in.
Right, but you don't need to show up in the shaggin' wagon from Dumb and Dumber. You don't have to do that.
In fact, you do not want to do that.
You do not. Actually, you know what? Somebody's going to see that and be like, this is a good idea, actually.
No, that's not a good idea.
Stick the lawnmower on the top.
That's like a gift basket. You don't want to do that.
It's better than a gift basket.
Oh, come on. I was trying to avoid that when I saw Jerrod's entrepreneur's journey, but it's like cranky old men drinking beer. Thank you.
Yeah.
It just always rears its ugly head.
Oh man, Rory, do you want to give us the beer review? I can't. It's weird how sometimes I just can't talk. Yeah. Do you want to?
It's those nerves because you're like, I don't have a second beer to go into.
Oh yeah, today. Oh. No, that'd be pretty good marketing. Put a trailer behind that with a whole bunch of
mutt cuts.
Yeah. Yeah. Rory, what did you think of the beer? Rory.
I crushed this beer. It was nice. You said it was a fridge stalker, Roy, and it's definitely a fridge stalker.
Yeah, I had to slow down halfway.
Can I get this in BC?
I don't know.
It reminds me of the St. Louis craft beer. That's the first beer I've had now since on the show. I'm like, oh, it's just nice and smooth, easy to drink. Yeah. It's that lagered ale, baby.
Well, Doug Ford he just made his announcement about trying to make interprovincial trade. So if you can't get it
go,
here now,
Dougie.
you probably will soon.
Let's go, Dougie. Come on. Yeah, that would be really good for the beer markets.
If it's not already out there, it is the type of beer that would transcend provincial borders. Yeah. Because there's a lot of craft beers that are too small. Like shipping is costly, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you have to ship volume. And craft beer market isn't really volume, but this is the type of beer that, like you say, is a fridge stalker, and you would buy a 12 or a 2-4 of it. And so you might, if it isn't out there, you might see it.
What is IBU of 21? What does that mean again? Is that the bitterness?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one's like 21 is not bitter at all then.
No, it's there's a little bit of bite to it, but what was your feeling, Jerrod?
I wanted another one, which is probably the first time, other than the Sneaky Weasel, which I think is my favorite, and I'm not even sure why. I love that beer.
I just went and got the Sneaky Weasel again, and I'm like, the same thing for me. I see it, I'm like, you know what?
Even though it's cheap, or is it the quality of the beer? I don't know which.
I don't know. It's a really good. It's a really good beer to me. I don't know
it's become a popular beer. Like it sells in Ontario. I'm not sure what provinces it sells in. I mean, it's a Vancouver-based brew.
Like I look at it and shout out to Vancouver and because I go to the beer store or the BC liquor store, wherever you go, and I see it now. I'm like, man, why would I get a watered down Bud Light when I get like a nice Sneaky Weasel?
Yeah.
It's not just sneaky. It's 30% sneakier.
Exactly. It's so sneaky.
You know what it is too, though? It is. There's a term for it when you it's like called trigger words. It's not trigger words, but there's an actual marketing term. Like Sneaky Weasel is a phrase, and they've turned a phrase into a brand.
Really good.
And
you see that brand, you're like, oh, I remember you, you sneak.
Like, when's the last time you heard the term lug tread? Right? You'll hear the term Sneaky Weasel maybe, let's call it once a year. Like, people will say that. So then when you hear it, you'll never have to try to remember the name. You'll just know Sneaky Weasel. Like, it's just always there.
But this one, I would, honestly, if I had Sneaky Weasel and I had some lug tread, great, and both are great cans, too. Like, come on. We need them as a sponsor on the Egg Show because the agriculture show. That's awesome. That's hilarious. But I guess, Jerrod, you would keep it as a beer stalker. Roy, what is your review on it?
But I'd be happy if someone handed it to me. But
Roy,
over to you.
I enjoy it. I mean, it's it is easy drinking. This was an ethical review. You would have to read the review to see why it's ethical.
Hey, where are the notes? It's my favorite part.
Hey, this is one of the early ones, isn't it? I'm going to go leave a comment.
You didn't have editor notes yet?
Nope.
So, yeah, I enjoy it. It is, the type of beer you'd buy 2-4 and put in your fridge. If you have people over, you're not going to get too many people that'll, I drink some exotic beers. But this is one I have no problem if someone comes over saying, have a beer. And it's easy drinking. There's a little bit of bitter crisp at the start, but it kind of turns into lager sweet. It's an interesting evolution in my mind. And the lagered ale is a very good description of it because you get a little bit of everything in it. Nice flavor. It's a craft beer, but it's not too extreme one way or the other. So I enjoy it.
And what are you rating it?
I can't remember if I gave it a 15 or a 16. It's certainly a Super Seds beer.
15 on the 15. 15 is what I just saw in there.
Well,
you don't have any. Is it even beer? The 0 to 6 category. So we got to search high and low.
Yeah, you got to give us some of the
I like it. It goes to the 404 not found.
Careful what you ask for.
Oh boy. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I've got a meeting in about a minute and 30 seconds that I need to jump on.
Nice.
So I will say thank you, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Crownsmen Show.
Thanks, everybody.